Good.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Women in STEM.
Thanks.
You're welcome. What are we talking about today?
Oh, thank you again for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I was actually thinking we would continue our discussion about that Indian film from, I don't know if you've heard of it, RRR. Just a couple different things the letters could stand for, just depending on like what language you speak or things like this.
Okay.
So it's actually a pretty creative title because it can have so many different functions.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really ringing any bells. Could you describe it for me a little bit?
Oh, sure. Basically, well, we've already discussed Act 1, so I can speak freely about that.
Yes.
There's two men, and they kind of have differing goals, but they don't realize that they're almost in opposition to each other. They become close best friends, and they would do anything for each other. I mean, they put their lives on the line countless times for the betterment of the other person. And then finally at some point it kind of culminates in this event where they realize that they are actually each other's enemy the whole time, and they've been living in secret.
I see. Does this realization come with like the haunting thought that they know each other better than anyone else has ever really known them, but at the same time
yet they know so little about each other.
So little. Yes, I see.
It does.
That's haunting.
Yes, yeah. It is. And I first watched it in the month of June, which, as you may know, is actually Pride Month.
I'm familiar.
Yes, of course. And what
this
was
channel
interesting
does support the LGBTs.
Excuse me. No retakes. We just keep going. Keep rolling. Same. No cut. Don't cut. And so it's interesting, this idea of finding someone that you have a really close connection with, an almost romantic connection, but you're still hiding a true aspect of your identity in some way. And that was a really interesting theme in the movie that also like kind of parallels with a lot of people's real life experience in kind of a different way.
Absolutely. That might also tie in with the romantic connection as well, this idea of I'm giving you every part of myself except for this one large thing that I'm holding back.
Interesting. Yes.
Fascinating. Well, that's a wonderful recap. Thank you for summing that up.
Oh, yeah, of course, anytime.
Yes. Shall we continue the discussion in the next part of the film?
Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. We last left off, there's that interval scene with everything's on fire. Just every possible thing is on fire. There's animals of various size and shape.
I assume there's a lot of blood on screen.
There's plenty of blood.
Good. Okay.
Yes, and there's even more just hot tears of rage and heartbreak, because this is the moment that they realize they've betrayed each other by keeping these secrets.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's really good. Yeah, one thing I love, and it's sparking little flickers of recognition in my memory, that Beam is so reluctant to accept this truth, that this plea to look at him goes on for several minutes before finally it crosses the line where he thinks he won't get Mally back, and then he starts to really fight.
Yes.
But he won't accept that his best friend has been working against him, has been his unknown enemy this entire time, and is now going to prevent him from reaching his goal.
Yes.
That's, it must have been unthinkable for him.
Oh, yeah, tragic, really.
Heartbreaking.
Well, Act 2. Should we try a different angle?
Yeah,
we get a whole 4 minutes out of that.
That's fantastic. I think that might be one of our longer bits.
I think so.
Hi, from this angle.
Yay! Look, you can see more of my house. Even kitchen in there.
To your wall. It's good. Yeah. We're both wearing Christmas presents as well.
Yes. I mean,
hat and I don't know if you can see an official Margaritaville shirt. Yeah.
I just bought it online, and she spent like hours making this, and yet this is the more exciting present somehow.
Because I think this is haunted with the ghost of Jimmy Buffett.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
I don't think yours is haunted. I'm sorry. No spirits.
That's
in
okay.
there.
Next year. Now that we know the caliber of present we could be getting.
We've done
Anyway,
a recap.
Merry Christmas.
Oh yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's Christmas.
This will be posted mid-February, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi.
You want to talk about RRR?
No.
Oh. Even though it's Act 2?
No. I have to plan my outfit.
Oh, okay.
That's an important part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Neil spends hours planning his outfits.
Yeah.
That's just because he doesn't have anything else to do right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He called home the other night and he snatched the phone away from my mother and went and propped the phone up on the counter and pointed out every single element of his outfit to me. Because again, that's
sure
all
he's
he has.
bored out of his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice to be like living at home for a while, but when you don't have any other friends there and no like social life and there's nothing to do because it's North Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you plan your
It's a
outfits.
rough life.
Yeah, we persevere though. Yeah.
That's all any of us can do.
That's so true. And you can take that advice from real doctors you can trust. I actually look like I'm wearing a lab coat.
Wow.
That's really... Because I was saying on the last one that I have been feeling Doofenshmirtz vibes in my life.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
This wasn't even on purpose.
Yeah. I'm just that good.
I'm
what can I
so
say?
happy.
Anyway, Rom finally gets the promotion
Oh yes.
because he captured Beam, and
Up
So
until
that's-
this point, we haven't known why. We just have assumed that he had a motivation.
yeah. You see, like, he's very driven, so like he must have some sort of reason for his behavior.
We've seen glimpses
You
of
see just little snippets of him, like, you know.
looking at his hand and seeing another hand in its place. But up
And you're
until
like,
this point,
that's weird.
A freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now in Act 2, we get a little more in depth. The backstory, the hand, etc. Why he's like this as a person, which
Yes.
you know has always been questionable.
You have to have a pretty decent-sized tragic backstory to get to the way that he is.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
a deeply unhealthy and troubled person.
Yes, constantly under such pressure. It's like a super volcano.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. We learn that his father defected from the British military, stealing one gun and one...
A crate of ammunition.
Yeah. And has been training his village to be soldiers and revolutionaries.
Yes.
Eventually, when they get real guns, they will be able to
They'll be
take back their
unstoppable.
country. But up until now, it's just they have wooden ones to practice with.
Because they only have access to the one, and also he wants to be sure that they have good aim and that they can work together as a strong militia.
That they won't
So they're not going to waste their opportunity when they have a real weapon.
Because we know the value of a bullet from our dear friend General Scott.
Yeah.
Scott Buxton.
Yeah.
Of course.
Who has a last name.
Yes, it's not Scott. Scott is his first name, but...
But whatever.
Yeah, no one cares. Who has said repeatedly that a bullet is too valuable to waste by shooting an Indian citizen.
Yeah. Because he's kind of despicable.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
he's
picked up on
vile.
that, but he's like
vile.
maybe the worst but maybe the second worst because Lady Buxton is the worst.
Oh, she's pretty rotten.
Yeah, she's really
to the
bad.
core.
Yeah, yeah.
And this, I mean, they work so well together as a couple because they're both worse than each other.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
They complement each other very well. It's like, you know, I'm happy for you guys as you'll be rotting in hell together.
Yeah.
Yeah, just bad people, but
Really bad
thoroughly
guys.
entertaining.
Yes.
This is the
And that's
important thing
key.
too. Yeah.
Because remember, this is a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important sometimes to have morally gray villains with ambiguous motives and plans, and you're like, I'm not really sure, maybe they could be right. It's also very good sometimes to have just a fully evil person with no redeeming characteristics or qualities whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're not
It's
tragic,
just
they're
a
not
Cruella
sympathetic.
de Vil, you know?
It's just her name is Cruella de Vil.
That's her name. And she wants to make coats out of puppies because they would be soft and pretty. And it doesn't matter that they're puppies, you know?
No,
She don't care.
she's evil.
She's evil. Her name is Cruella de Vil. Think about that.
It doesn't need to be anything more.
No.
And the Buxtons are not anything more.
No.
They're truly evil, and they're British. But
And I'm not going to say anything about that. It's just interesting.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just pointing out that there's, you know, parallels. But that's, you know, we also have Jenny, so it's not all British people are evil.
Yeah. There's always an exception to the rule or whatever. I mean. And we look so small.
I look quite a bit smaller than you.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's just the aura, I think.
It's insane because you'd think the Margaritaville would kind of give you a much bigger energy.
Larger than life.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's a mystery not meant to be solved. Okay, the Buxtons are evil.
Yes.
About this.
And we were going to get into the flashback, but then we just didn't because we were talking about the Buxtons.
So, for a while, yeah. The flashback. We see Rom as a child, you know, being this, like, soldier in training. And he fires his father's rifle one night.
Which he's not supposed to do because remember they're saving that for, you know, important.
Yeah, that's a wasted
later.
bullet. But we see his shot, and it's right through the center of the target, and it's a hanging target, so it's swinging and moving. We think that's pretty impressive, and his dad says, hey, did you fire that from like 50 feet away? And he was like, no.
And then Sita is like, over there, and it's like 4 miles. I shot it from over there. I shot it from the next range. Yeah. And the dad's like, my boy, the weapon is ready. Like, and it's just him, you know.
Yeah, like that's a normal thing to say to your child.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he's had a complicated life.
Yeah, it's normal for that child.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
so they go back to the village.
They're announcing like, hey, Rom's like a really good shot.
Unfortunately, people also will start getting shot around them.
Yes, they don't really have a chance to celebrate because just by happenstance, at that very moment, people are coming in to like take over the village and like kill all the innocent people and whatever. So that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's not a great day for them.
It's also sadly comical because the commander of the battalion has the most ridiculous accent you've ever heard. We all for trying to strategize. I don't think real British people talk like that. I think that they've made that up. That can't be a real person. You thought we could take on us.
You gotta change your strategy.
So it's heartbreaking because people are getting shot, but it's also it's like insult to injury because they're being shot by a caricature.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tragedy like no other.
Yeah.
So anyway, but there is some pretty satisfying stuff because this guy, he has like a megaphone where he's shouting commands, and Rum shoots him in the head.
Through the megaphone. That's good.
That's so cool.
Yep. And Rom is shooting because...
Yeah, so it's at first he gives the gun to the dad, and the dad is shooting, but then the dad gets shot, and he can't, like, hold the gun anymore.
In the finger.
In the finger. His fingers are cut off by a bullet. And so then he's like, Rom, you do it. And Rom's like, I'm 11. But you just do what has to be done, you know? And they're trying to buy everyone time to flee.
Unfortunately, Rom's younger brother gets shot on the way out of the village.
Which is very sad. And then the mother sees that her son has been shot and runs over to him. And then she also gets shot. But, you know, the father is not deterred. And he's like, load.
With tears streaming down his face.
And Rom's like, ah! Anyway. It's a very, very tragic moment, but there's also some powerful stuff in there. Like he says that with just one gun, like, we've made these people retreat like 200 yards or whatever. Like, that's pretty significant that there's like 100 people here. And with one gun and an 11-year-old, like, we've scared them enough that they're ready to leave. They're ready to retreat.
Imagine what we could do if everybody had a weapon.
Yeah. So this is the moment that really you see all of Rom's motivation from the first act that we didn't know that much about all come together. He's trying to give everyone from his village a weapon so that they can defeat the militant colonizers for good.
Yes.
Right, make them retreat so much that they just go back to England and give the land back and all of these things.
And he made a promise to his father that he would do that. He would give everybody a weapon, and do whatever it takes to do that. So that's why he's been so dedicated as a British soldier, because this is the only way that he can get the promotion, to get the weapons or bring it back, but
right,
at what cost?
Great question. The cost is unfortunately his best friend.
The greatest, most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life.
Yes, that's true.
The warmest, big, brown cow eyes. Yeah. They're not big and brown anymore, though. They're cold and angry.
Yes.
And that's good. That's really good.
Yes. Because there's no harsher betrayal than what Beam has just experienced in, like, the last scene. Where he, like, didn't get to reach his goal that's very important to him and to all of his people. And the one person who stopped him from achieving this is the one person that he assumed would, like, be there for him through anything. So that's pretty sad.
But he only didn't tell about this because he was worried about his safety, not because he thought he couldn't trust him. It just came so out of nowhere. Yeah. And a really fun parallel in this scene is during the fight, Rom couldn't make eye contact with Bean. He refused to look at him. He had kept his eyes down and just was only there for the fight. And now Rom is standing right in front of him, just begging him to look him in the eye. And Bean's just straight ahead, stone-faced, nothing. He will not look at him. And that's really fun. Because it hurts so much.
So hard.
It's good. Yeah. Anyway, so Governor Scott takes Beam to be flogged in front of
everyone. Somehow. They, like,
everyone in the whole country
in Delhi to go, and that's like so many people.
Yeah, because how could you even
after
keep
like
track
4 rows, like, you can't see anything anyway. It's like, why are they even there? You know?
Yeah.
But then it turns out to be a good thing that they're there.
You need the numbers for this.
Yeah.
Because he wants to make an example out of Beam, so that no one will ever rise up against the British. Yeah.
Okay.
So
sure.
Rom is, because he captured Beam, he has the honor of doing the whipping.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's really thrilled about this because of how he's
weeping,
like openly sniffling. He clearly hasn't shaved or done his hair for the day. He looks, I mean, he still looks darn near perfect, but it's the most unkempt he's looked throughout the entire film. And we saw him as he was dying of a snake bite.
Yeah, and he just like got a little sweaty.
This, he looks fully miserable, like he hasn't slept or eaten in months, and
which might be true.
We don't know.
We don't know a lot, really.
Yeah, but he's getting ready to whip his best friend in front of everybody, and
so that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically they're trying to get Beam to kneel, but he won't because he has pride,
integrity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Dignity, in fact.
Sure, that too. Yeah.
I've noticed that about him. And these are you might notice recurring themes in the movie. This idea of like your self-identity and your identity with the people that you belong to is, you know, stronger than any force that works against you or something. I don't know.
Even in the dance battle scene, Beam was, we see later, in so much pain. But he's
not gonna give up.
No. What message would that send? That was just a dance.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I mean, we know he's certainly not going to take a knee for Scott. No, sir.
No.
So he's whipped several times.
Mm-hmm. And then Lady Buxton makes it worse. And then it's just awful. It's unbelievable.
Vile.
Anyway, he starts singing this song about, again, his identity as a son of nature, and it's very beautiful and moving. And Scott, Governor Buxton, if you will, recognizes his error in inviting everyone to this because they're all like not on his side, you know? So it's like, why? I mean, if you think about it. Anyway, so they get like really inspired and like riled up by Beam's song.
And throughout the course of the whipping as well, we see Rome doing what he can to protect Beam from further harm. Like he knocks the chain out from under him so he'll fall to his knees, and Beam like planks in midair so he doesn't.
Somehow. He has like the strongest ankles on earth. There's no way that he should be able to do that, but he does because of his fortitude.
Yeah.
And then Ron is like, please, like, I don't want to be here. Just kneel down, right? So there's that, again, that battle of, you know.
Yeah, why don't you just give in? Why don't you just kneel?
Yeah, like just for now. And then, you know, things will be easier for you if you just do this now, which is like kind of been his process throughout these last 20 years of his life.
Take the humiliation, take the like momentary sting.
Yeah.
Because for a greater cause.
It'll be easy for you now. Yeah, and then later it'll work out. But Beam is like, no, I'm not going to do that actually. You know?
There's one moment too where they get so close to each other and they're just like staring each other down.
Yeah, and Beam gets taller somehow.
He grows. Yeah.
He's already a grown man. He just is like, his fury just kind of lifts him up off the ground. He's floating.
He bares his teeth.
Yeah.
His first scene, he looked like a wild animal. And now he looks like a wild animal again. And it's
so that's called parallelism.
Yeah. For the uninitiated.
So he sings this song and everyone gets all like, yeah, you know what? Yeah. And they start like
storm.
Yeah, there's no way the British can't hold them because again, there's like 5 million people there. And why would you invite them all if you want them not to revolt?
Yeah, you commit the most atrocious acts on another human being.
And then he's like, oh, they're fighting back.
Why are you mad about it?
I'm right.
This scene also includes, at least it's my personal favorite shot in the movie. It's an extra tearing out a British soldier's throat with his teeth.
Just jumps on top of him and is like, I mean, that's crazy. And they just let him do that, and they kept it in the final cut of the movie. What a hero. He's actually the real main character of this movie. the people, all the people,
Rise,
men,
roar,
women, and children.
Random man.
yeah. He's the third R.
Yeah, but yeah, everyone
going
is
at
just
them like they don't have any weapons.
going
they
feral.
They have themselves, and that's enough to like do some serious damage
and righteous anger.
Yeah.
And we see Beam finally collapses up on the stage, and Rom just kind of gently cradles his face and looks up in awe across the crowd and carries him to the truck and just sits and ponders.
Yes.
Until nighttime.
And at nighttime we can see that nobody's there anymore, but there's obvious carnage.
Including a pool of Beam's blood.
Yes.
That he caresses. So that's a normal thing to do.
Rom is like, not okay. Anyway, but then he's so inspired by Beam, because all he did was sing a song and refuse to kneel. And that was enough to make like thousands and thousands of people rise up, you know. So then he's like, wait, maybe have I been going about this wrong? Oh no.
Oof, bad time to think that.
Yeah. You could have thought that at any other point in the last 20 years. But better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he had to see Beam do it.
Right, in order to be inspired by it.
Right. At this moment that he's realizing this, his uncle and confidant comes up with the news that he has been assigned to deliver the weapons. And he's thrilled about this for just a moment before you hear the sound of a whip. And he just kind of crumbles.
Oof.
We'll do the marker.
And action.
Thank you for joining us back.
Oh, yeah. Anytime. It's great to be here, and you know, this is just such a great movie. There's a lot of themes and motifs, you could say.
Oh, I love a good motif.
There's characters and plot. There's action and really heartfelt, emotional beats as well. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of the whole package, you could say.
I see. Tragic betrayal, we know.
Of course,
yeah.
Yes, but also perhaps a redemption? We can't say for sure, but it seems like things might be leading there because Rom has the orders that he's going to be the person to take the weapons to the next place, and he decides to change the location of that, and also the location of like, well, Beam is like in trouble and he's going to be hanged or whatever, and he's like, what if I make those the same place, and then I can help Beam escape
with Mally.
And perhaps guns.
He
like,
also
this is genius.
Decides this on a dime. It takes it's just such a quick decision from I've spent my entire life working up until this moment. And like almost instantly he says,
oh, I have to say Beam.
Yeah.
And so then his uncle is like, hey, remember all of our people? What are you doing this for? And he's like, well, no reason. That's not what happens. It's a much more serious conversation, but whatever. That's the subtext. Okay, we're reading between the lines here.
It's called critical analysis. But what Beam has showed Rom is that you don't have to necessarily have a real weapon in your hands in order to make change and in order to defy oppressors.
And to do some serious damage. I mean, you can just have teeth
and fingernails. One lady takes out a couple eyeballs.
Yeah, I think so. She's like, I mean,
it's good.
It's crazy.
It's good. Yeah. What I like too about the scene in the crowd is we see people like all different backgrounds, like you know, men, women, Muslims, Hindi people. Like it's Muslims, the third gender.
Three genders. Man, woman, Muslim. Yeah.
But it's, you know, this oppression is harming everyone living in this.
No matter their differences on paper.
Yeah.
They have more in common than they have different, especially now that they are being called to band together against these oppressors.
Mm-hmm. And so Rom's plan is to give every person a weapon in Beam.
Mm-hmm.
Beam used nothing but a song to inspire the people to be weapons of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that by turning Beam over to the people, he will become this symbol.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't explain
the
this.
Mockingjay, if you will.
The Mockingjay of India.
Yeah. As I've always called him, the Mockingjay of India.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he has no way to communicate this to Beam, and he
Mm-mm.
doesn't really explain it very well to his uncle or anyone else.
No.
He just kind of is like, this is what I'm gonna do now.
His poor uncle.
Whoa.
And his uncle, who has seen them slowly fall in love with each other. Well, not slowly, immediately fall in love with each other.
Yeah.
Knows full well what's going on.
Yeah.
But it helps anyway.
Yeah,
Is he the only real ally?
I think so. Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Happy Pride Month and Merry Christmas.
So Rom convinces Governor Scott to change the location of Beam's execution.
Mm-hmm.
And
he gives him all these sneaky reasons for it. He's
Mm-hmm.
very, he's an intellectual. He's like, listen, if you do it in this public place, you saw what happened last time. The people are going to rise up. You have to do it in private. You know, take him to a remote location so that, you know, you won't get killed by the people.
And
also
another really good point.
Uh-huh.
You know that kid that he was trying so hard to
Yeah,
save?
yeah, I was just going to say,
Yeah.
what if she was there so that you still get the emotional impact of making people watch, but it's the one person that matters the most to him? And Scott's like, I like the way you think, young man.
It's very.
Because he's evil.
He said, that's very British coded of you.
Yeah.
And you see Rom like.
Mom's like, thank you.
Beam, from his perspective, thinks that Rom is just taking advantage of the things that he knows about him.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he publicly whipped him, so he doesn't really care about him. So he's going to, yeah, absolutely, I'll kill this girl to...
Right, he thinks like, oh, he's just making this on purpose even more cruel for me.
He has no
Which
reason
he
to think.
is, but with ulterior motives that he will not disclose.
So with this plan now in motion, Rom sets about disabling the guns that they will use for the soldiers for the execution. Removes
So
all
he's
the
gonna
firing
be hanged,
pins.
but then they all have to have weapons just in case. And he's like, but they're gonna be useless.
Anyway, it's a good thing they were late. I don't know.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
They take him to this remote location, and he's set up like a tree to fall in front of Governor Scott, but then of course Governor Scott catches on and is like, hang on, he's conspiring against me. So then he...
because everybody in this movie has to have at least one cool
have to
moment.
have at least
Even
one...
the villain doesn't make him sympathetic or redeemable.
It just makes him kind of formidable.
Badass.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So the tree falls, but he catches what's happening just in time. The car kind of goes like this and throws him out, but as he's in midair, in slow motion, he grabs a rifle, aims and shoots, and hits the tire of Rom's car dead on in one shot. I mean, it is impressive.
Yeah, you gotta give him props for that.
Yeah.
He didn't become evil governor
For nothing.
just from nepotism. Like, he earned it.
Yeah.
So the car explodes.
Yeah, but it turns 8 times or something.
Throws Rom and Miley out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And Rom, who has been stabbed multiple times already in this movie, but rolls onto a broken tree branch that's about 6 inches.
It's just the right size to stab him fully through the back.
Yeah.
And he's like...
So the whole scene, he's coughing blood, which is, I've often said, the most attractive thing a man can do is be coughing up blood.
Take notes.
So Mally takes off running, and Rom is
struggling behind her, just taking down soldiers one by one to keep her safe. She doesn't see this. She wouldn't know. She's running.
Yeah, and I don't think he explained to her the plan.
He couldn't because Governor Scott was there.
Yeah, but then they had that whole
They could have on the ride, I guess. Yeah.
Because, they speak a language that, in fact, Governor Scott does not speak.
So
it actually could have been pretty easy.
Rom is stupid.
He's an intellect, but he's also an idiot.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yeah. Well, O'Malley makes it to Beam, and Beam has, in the meantime, been escaping on his own.
Yes.
With the help of a razor blade that Rom's uncle slipped into the car. So he's
been spending the last 2 hours trying to slice through the ropes on his hands. And he gets it just in time, and then he starts knocking people out.
He doesn't even try to use the guns. He gets a gun immediately, but uses it as a club.
Which is actually smart of him, because the guns don't have firing pins.
Which he could tell. I think he could smell the lack of...
There's something off about this.
Something's not right here. So he takes out the soldiers waiting by the gallows, while Rom is taking out the soldiers in the woods, chasing Mally. Mally reaches
They make
Beam.
a great team, except that they don't know that they're on the same team. Because Rom is a hopeless communicator.
Yeah. So Rom fires one last shot, and it looks to Beam like it's aimed at Mally, when in reality it's aimed past
Mally.
Yeah, at a soldier who's fixed
coming
his gun.
Yeah, somehow.
I didn't think you could.
I don't think you can. But
he did.
Yeah.
Because again,
everyone has to have one cool moment.
Yeah.
And that's it. He can fire a gun with no firing pin in it.
He made it grow.
Yeah.
It's like those mechanical pencils that just twist out.
He's like, you just need more lead.
Yeah. So Beam smashes Rom over the head and just demolishes him. So he's lying there just collapsed in a puddle.
Yeah. Because remember, he's already been stabbed in the kidney or something.
He shouldn't, really be alive.
No. After the first scene in the movie, he shouldn't be alive.
No.
That's what makes these movies so good, It's these larger than life stakes, and it's totally unbelievable, but you want to believe it so bad, and you just get so pulled into it that you're like, well, of course he's gonna survive. He just barely got stabbed in the kidney a little bit. Of course. No big deal.
But then, Beam takes the branch, hesitates. He's got him pinned down
right in front of his neck, and there's nothing that Rom can do because he's been paralyzed or with something.
And he's totally out of it too. He can't even focus.
Yeah.
Because he's dazed. He's just been smashed in the head by this force of nature.
Yes. And then you see Beam and Molly running off, and Rom's just sitting there with this big old tree trunk in his neck, and you're like, ah!
But they can't kill him.
And you're like, but maybe they could, actually. The first time we watched it, there's that thunk, and then the two are running off, and he's just lying there, motionless, with things sticking out, and we're all like, whoa.
Because his collar hides it just enough that you think you see it in him.
Yeah.
And it's not. Because Beam, you remember how in the first half of the movie, Rom went to stab Beam in the neck with the chunk of broken marble, and he couldn't do it. And we think, maybe because he needs him alive for the promotion, but also maybe because
he can't do it. Yeah.
So Beam stabbed it into the ground. He couldn't kill him, even when he thought he was trying to kill Mally.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Sure, it doesn't mean anything.
There is those 2 seconds that feels like eternity where you're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen
every single time?
What's gonna happen for the last 45 minutes of this movie when you just killed the main character? What do we do now?
Everyone's spiraling, and every time we watch this movie with a new group of people, I love this is my favorite game in the world.
The reaction where the air is sucked out of the room.
It's always the same. Everyone reacts. There's always just the tiniest little gasp, and then just several heartbeats, and then oh my gosh. Yeah.
Are you seeing this?
It's perfect. It's so good.
Yeah. I think that's the end of Act 2.
Yeah. Beam escapes into the woods, and Rom continues to hold back. He holds one soldier under each limb magically.
Yeah.
And he's then captured, but Beam escapes. And that's all he needed to do.
That's all we know for a while.
Yeah. End of
Act 2.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention my favorite small detail of Act 2. Yours is the throat grabbing.
It's really good.
Mine is the one where Rom has somebody's head behind his thigh.
Oh my god.
He stabs his neck with his thigh.
With his thigh.
Okay.
No, it's totally good. Yeah, because again, he's been stabbed. But he can just, like, that's him at half power.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And one thing, too, I wanted to say is that this movie, despite it's not explicitly gay. Again, they're just in love in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
But
also on screen.
Yeah. With, the performances and the dialogue and such.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of the bury your gays trope.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
over
it's
and
like
over
they're
again.
going to live no matter what.
He could have his heart ripped out of his chest and it'll still be beating.
Yeah.
Somehow it's pumping his blood through his body remotely.
Yeah.
Via Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Because he's just not going to die. Every time he gets stabbed, it's worse than the last time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But he's
fine.
we don't even have to worry about recovery.
Yeah,
In the next scenes, he's immediately...
He's drinking his protein shake.
Yeah.
He's back on that grind.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something, like, I even read in an interview with the director who said, like, usually there's, like, these certain kind of shots or these certain kind of scenes are usually between the two love interests. And this movie has, like, doesn't really have love interests in that way, but we still wanted to frame these shots between the two main characters in that same way.
Interesting.
I
also know, like, male-female song, which is usually...
Yeah, that's true.
Another staple,
But no, there's
But no,
just
Ron and
the
Beam
song
have-
where they meet and have this sort of montage of their friendship, and then there's another song between them where they're dancing together.
Oh, yes.
And then there's a song where one of them inspires the other to change his behavior for the better.
And then well, that's...
So anyway,
We'll
that's
save it
just
for the next
interesting. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, that's all for Act 3, I guess.
2.
No, Act 2.
Yeah.
Part 3.
Yeah, because we did Act 1, Part 1, Act 1, Part 2. So now this is Act 2, but it's Episode 3.
And it's not confusing at
And you
all.
all knew that.
Join us next time when we'll talk about the conclusion.
The conclusion, yeah.
Yeah. I like this shot a lot because I talk
It's
a lot
quite
with my
silly.
hands.
Oh, but you can't even
So
tell.
you kind of see my head moving around, but there's...
Yeah. It's like that Irish dance. Like, not allowed to see the bottom half of you.
What you... Yeah, are missing here.
What you
is that
can't
I am
see is
doing
that
a vigorous
she's
Irish
clogging. Yeah. She's going ham over here. She's a chorus girl. But yeah. And that might be true. You'd never know. Well, bye.
Thanks.